Daniel Harper stopped walking just before the door and felt the weight of the moment press against his chest. The hallway was quiet, lit by soft yellow lights that made everything feel slower than it was. He could still turn back, he told himself. That more than once, no one would notice. No one would care. He had already spent years convincing himself that staying silent was safer than speaking. Tonight was supposed to be no different. Yet his hand stayed on the door handle. He had not planned this. He had not planned to attend a support circle, to sit among strangers, or to listen to people talk about lives that felt broken and unfinished. Daniel was a project manager in his early 40s, living in Portland, Oregon. His days were built on schedules, deadlines, and calm conversations. After his divorce, he rebuilt his life carefully, brick by brick, leaving no room for surprises. Emotions were risky. Attachments were worse. He had learned that lesson the hard way. Still, something had pushed him here. The room inside was larger than he expected, simple and quiet. Chairs formed a loose circle. A few people were already seated, their faces calm but tired, as if they carried stories too heavy to explain quickly. No one stared. No one asked questions. Daniel took an empty chair near the back and sat down, keeping his coat on, as if he might leave at any second. The meeting began without ceremony. A middle-aged woman welcomed everyone and reminded them they could speak or stay silent. Daniel appreciated that. Silence had become his closest companion. As people spoke, he listened. A man talked about losing his job after 20 years. Young. Woman shared how moving to a new city made her feel invisible. Their words passed through Daniel, not because they meant nothing, but because he didn't know how to let them in yet. He stayed still, hands folded, eyes lowered. Then, across the circle, he noticed her. She wasn't speaking. She was listening, fully present, as if every word mattered. Her posture was calm, but there was something careful about the way she held herself. Her name, when it came time for introductions, was Claire Mitchell. She spoke clearly, without drama. "I moved here from Vancouver," she said. "I thought a change of place would help me breathe again." She paused, then added, "I never thought I'd be starting over this way. But life doesn't always ask permission." Her words were simple, but they landed hard. Daniel felt them echo inside him. Starting over, not asking permission. Those were ideas he had spent years avoiding. When the meeting ended, the room filled. With quiet movement, chairs scraped softly. People nodded at one another, offering small smiles that held more meaning than long conversations. Daniel stood quickly, ready to leave before anyone could speak to him. That was when he saw Claire near the door, struggling to balance her bag and coat. Without thinking, Daniel stepped forward. The action surprised him as much as it would have. "Surprised anyone else? Do you need help?" he asked. She looked up, startled, then relaxed. "Yes, thank you." He held the door open as they stepped into the cool evening air. The city smelled like rain, even though the sky was clear. Street lights reflected off the pavement, turning the ordinary street into something softer. "I'm Daniel," he said, unsure why he felt the need to add anything more. "Claire," she replied, adjusting her bag. "Nice to meet you." Walked together toward the parking lot. It felt natural. Easy in a way Daniel wasn't used to anymore. "Is this your first time here?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "I almost didn't come." She smiled gently. "I almost didn't either." They shared a quiet laugh, small but real. That moment lingered with Daniel long after they went their separate ways. Over the next few weeks, they kept meeting, not just at the support circle, but afterward for coffee or short walks nearby. The conversations were light at first. Work, favorite books, cities they missed. Daniel talked about growing up in Ohio, about the comfort of familiar places. Claire talked about Vancouver, about the ocean and the way the rain felt different. They never rushed. Neither of them asked questions that felt too personal. Yet, little by little, they began to share more. Daniel spoke about his marriage ending not with anger, but with silence, two people could slowly stop seeing each other while still living in the same house. Claire listened without judgment. She didn't interrupt. She didn't try to fix anything. Claire talked about loss, not in detail, but in feeling. About waking up one day and realizing the future she imagined no longer existed. Daniel didn't need to know every part of her story to understand the weight of it. Their time together felt safe. That was the problem. Daniel noticed the change in himself. He looked forward to Thursdays, caught himself smiling at his phone when he saw her name. These were things he had promised himself he would never do again. Caring meant risking disappointment. Trusting meant opening wounds that had barely healed. One evening, as they sat in a quiet cafe, Claire asked, "Does this scare you too?" The question was gentle but direct. Daniel didn't pretend he misunderstood. "Yes," he said, "because I never planned to feel this again." Claire nodded, as if she had expected that answer. "Neither did I." They sat in silence, watching people pass by the window. The world outside moved quickly, unaware of the quiet moment unfolding between them. Days later, Claire told him she might return to Canada. Her mother's health was failing, and the distance felt too heavy to ignore. Daniel listened, nodding, saying the right things. He told her family came first. He told her he understood. But that night, alone in his apartment, he realized the truth. For the first time in years, doing nothing hurt more than doing something. He stood by the window, city lights blurred by rain, asking himself a question he had avoided for too long. Was he brave enough to follow a feeling he never planned to have? And somewhere far north, Claire was asking herself the same thing, wondering if starting over meant walking away or finally staying. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Claire. Each Thursday, each coffee meetup, each quiet walk had become something he couldn't plan for. Something he didn't expect, but now couldn't imagine leaving behind. He'd always believed in control, in making life predictable. But Claire had changed that without trying. She was steady yet unpredictable, calm, yet alive in a way that made him feel awake again. The following week, he found himself waiting outside the cafe earlier than necessary just to see her first. Claire arrived, umbrella in hand, soft drizzle falling around her. When she saw him, her smile was immediate and warm, and Daniel realized how much he had missed seeing it. They walked inside, shedding the rain, and sat at their usual table. The small, familiar cafe had become a safe world for them. A place where the past didn't intrude and the future wasn't pressing. Their conversations began lightly, but they carried more weight now. Daniel spoke of his childhood in Ohio. How he loved the quiet streets of his small town. How he had learned to hide disappointment behind careful smiles. Claire listened, truly listened, and then she shared her own memories. Afternoons on the Vancouver waterfront, watching seagulls wheel in the sky, the feeling of freedom she had once taken for granted. Neither conversation was rushed, but each carried a subtle undercurrent, an acknowledgement that both had lived through loss and that loss had shaped them. Weeks passed, their connection grew, and Daniel noticed a strange mixture of comfort and fear settling into his chest. He felt drawn to Claire in ways he hadn't felt in years, yet every pull toward her carried the weight of potential heartbreak. Claire, too, had started to rely on their meetings, to anticipate them. They had built a rhythm together, a life. In small moments, morning texts, coffee runs, shared smiles that lasted a little longer than necessary. And every moment chipped away at the walls Daniel had built. The careful shields that had protected him from pain. One evening, they stayed late in the cafe, the rain tapping softly against the windows. Daniel stirred his coffee absent-mindedly, thinking about how their lives had shifted so quickly, so unexpectedly. "Does it scare you?" Claire asked, her voice quiet, almost lost in the hum of the cafe. "Yes," Daniel admitted, looking down, "because I never planned to feel this again." Claire reached across the table, brushing her fingers lightly against his. He felt a jolt of electricity, a reminder that the world outside the cafe didn't matter when she was near, either. Did I?" she whispered. The honesty between them was new, fragile, but it didn't feel forced. Daniel realized that care didn't always come with guarantees, and love didn't need perfect timing. It only needed truth. For the first time in years, he let himself believe that risk didn't always mean loss, that vulnerability didn't always end in disappointment. Their connection deepened quickly after that. Walks became longer, conversations more personal, laughter more frequent. Daniel discovered Claire's quirks, the way she always stirred her coffee counterclockwise, the gentle tilt of her head when she thought deeply, the small smiles she gave when she was quietly pleased with something. Claire learned the little things about Daniel too, the way he tapped his fingers when nervous, the exact way he folded letters from work, the slight hesitation before he spoke about difficult memories. These small details formed the foundation of a trust neither had expected to find so quickly, yet both needed more than they realized. Then came the challenge. Claire's mother's health worsened. A phone call confirmed what they had feared. She needed to return to Canada to care for her mother. The news hit both of them hard, though they tried to mask it with calm words. Daniel wanted to tell her not to go, to stay and figure out whatever this was between them. But he didn't. Claire's sense of responsibility, her quiet strength, demanded that he let her make the choice freely. On their last evening before she left, they walked along the river. Air was crisp, the city lights reflected on the water, and everything felt heightened. Neither spoke for long stretches, as if the quiet could carry their emotions better than words ever could. Eventually, Claire stopped, turned to him, and took his hand. "I don't want to leave," she admitted. Her eyes glistened, and Daniel's chest tightened. "I don't want you to go either," Daniel said. "But I can't ask you to stay. Not when your family needs you." They walked in silence again, fingers intertwined, knowing that distance would soon test the fragile bond they had built. Daniel's mind raced with possibilities, with the fear of losing something he hadn't planned for, yet wanted more than anything. Claire squeezed his hand, as if offering him reassurance and courage at the same time. Over the next few days, they texted and called, short messages that carried longing and hope. They shared thoughts, small stories, and laughter across borders. Daniel realized how much their connection had altered his perspective. He had always been cautious, reserved, unwilling to gamble with feelings. Claire had shown him that life didn't always wait for the perfect moment, that love didn't need planning yet, only required courage. Even with the distance, they made plans to see each other when possible. Video calls became their new routine, and each conversation reminded them both of what had begun unexpectedly. Daniel found himself planning trips, imagining shared meals, quiet evenings, and walks in the rain. He realized that waiting, enduring the ache of missing her, was a new form of commitment he hadn't known existed. One night, staring at the city skyline from his apartment window, Daniel reflected on the whirlwind of emotions that had brought him here. Every hesitation, every careful decision he had made before meeting Claire now seemed less important. What mattered was the connection they had forged, fragile but undeniable, and the realization that life could surprise him in ways he never expected. Meanwhile, Claire sat in her apartment in Vancouver, watching the sunset over the rooftops. She thought of Daniel, his quiet strength, the warmth in his voice, the calm honesty he had shown her. She recognized that she had opened herself to something risky, something unplanned, yet it had brought her a sense of hope she hadn't felt in years. The distance was challenging, but it also revealed the depth of what had grown between them. Weeks turned into months. Their bond endured. Every visit, every phone call, every shared laugh reaffirmed the unexpected choice they had both made to care, to trust, to allow themselves to feel again. The risk of heartbreak lingered, but it no longer paralyzed them. Instead, it reminded them that life was worth embracing, even when it arrived unplanned. Daniel and Claire learned that love didn't always arrive on time, that it didn't need a plan or a promise. simply required courage. The courage to step forward when everything in life said to hold back, the courage to open one's heart even after pain. The courage to follow a feeling that neither had expected but now could not ignore. In the end, the decision to connect, to pursue a bond they never thought possible, changed everything. Daniel realized that sometimes the most important moments were the ones you never planned, the ones that arrive quietly but carry a lifetime of meaning. Claire understood that stepping into uncertainty could bring more reward than safety ever. And both of them, separated by miles, yet united by choice, discovered that life's greatest surprises often came when they dared to follow the feelings they never thought they would act on. For Daniel and Claire, the unexpected had become the most important chapter of their lives, chapter full of longing, hope, and the quiet, powerful love that neither had planned, yet both had embraced completely.